So what we want to do, Brother Lenny, is to start off with just an explanation of what the Black Family Summit is all about. Tape roll. Go ahead.
Well, let me first of all give some context from a historical perspective as to how the Institute of Black World 21st Century's Black Family Summit came into existence. I think that's very, very important because oftentimes the perception is that it just happened. I always like to pay homage to those who really sort of paved the way for not only this experience for me, but for the Institute itself. And first, I'd like to say that at the invitation of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan back in 2004, he invited me to come out to Chicago to have a conversation with him. At the very outset, I was not quite sure what the conversation was going to be about. When I got there, he, being his gracious self, said, "Brother Dunston, I'm really looking at how can we celebrate the black family as we move towards the 2005 Million More Movement, which was then, I think, about the 10th year of the anniversary of the Million Man March. And or maybe it was 20 years. My memory now is slipping me. Whatever the difference between 1995 and 2005 was a celebration. So the Million More Movement was going to be held in October the 15th, 16th in Washington, D.C. So we had a very involved conversation that really sort of reflected on how we first met, which went back to 1972 when, as chair of the National Association of Black Social Workers Security Committee, I was responsible for coordinating security for his appearance at our National Association of Black Social Workers Conference in New York City. And from that, we developed a very good relationship over the years. Fast forward the tape, when the process for planning of the Million Man March occurred, he invited me to become a part of the planning committee. So I was honored to do that, and subsequently to be one of the featured speakers at the Million Man March. So he thought, because of my professional background, that being that of a social worker, that I might add some, have some ideas as to how we could celebrate the black family, uplift it, and also simultaneously figure out ways in which we could be more supportive of the black family. So I was unclear after I left his home as to exactly how this might unfold. Fast forward the tape, he invited me to join his tour, his southern tour, meaning from D.C. down to Atlanta, Georgia. I was honored to accompany him throughout that tour. I think it was around August 29th or 30th when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. As a matter of fact, we were in Columbia, South Carolina. And it then dawned on me that, well, these families are going to be displaced across the country. And as a result of that, post-traumatic stress is going to begin to kick in. So at dinner that evening, I mentioned to the minister that I think I have an idea of how we can make your notion of strengthening and supporting black families a reality. And we can use this by pulling together professional black organizations during the Million More Movement celebration and figuring out ways in which they can pool their collective resources to support families that are going to be displaced across the country. Well, what he asked me then to do was to figure out ways to invite them to a special session. I have a friend and a colleague who was on the faculty at Howard University School of Social Work, Dr. Patricia Bent-Goodley, and she was able to provide, through her faculty position, space at the Howard University School of Medicine's auditorium for us to hold this forum. So on October the 15th, 2005, at Howard University School of Medicine, the minister and I convened 35 national black organizations to figure out a way in which we could support families that were being displaced across the country.
Give me a sense of what type of organization it is.
It ran the gamut. We had representatives from the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice. There was representatives from the Association of Black Psychologists. These were presidents, not just representatives. These were all presidents. The president of the National Medical Association, the president of the National Dental Association, National Black Accountants, the National Association of Black Social Workers, Black Psychiatrists of America, the National Association for the, I'm struggling to remember the exact name because I was a board member, but a national coalition for reparations in America. I don't know how I'm having a problem remembering that. The National Black United Front. We had representatives from the National Commission on AIDS, National Black Commission on AIDS, of which at that time I was a board member. National Black Nurses Association. I can't remember all of them, but this is an example. That's International Association of Black Professional Firefighters. I'm sorry.
Collectively, these organizations represented among their membership and supporters probably tens of thousands of people.
Oh, absolutely. We estimated at that time probably 50,000 people were technically represented by the membership of these organizations. If you look at the National Bar Association, the National Conference of Black Lawyers, for example, just in the legal profession, that's a significant number. Mm-hmm. The social sciences, oh, I forgot the Black Administrators in Child Welfare. They were a part of this gathering. And out of that gathering, Don, came an opportunity for us to ask them to go back to their chapters and decide how would they now provide services to the families that have been displaced across the country as a result of Katrina. Fast forward the tape on this notion, the minister said, well, we need to figure out a way to get down to New Orleans and see for ourselves what's really happening on the ground. At this point, he suggested that the mechanism and the vehicle through which this should happen would probably be best served by the Institute of Black World 21st Century. And he wanted an organization that would be considered neutral. That was, I'm sort of paraphrasing the minister's comment. So he called Dr. Daniels, Ron Daniels, and asked Ron if he would be willing to subsume under the auspices of the Institute of Black World 21st Century what was emerging then as the Black Family Summit. So in January of 2006, in celebration of Martin Luther King's birthday, the Minister, Honorable Louis Farrakhan, and Dr. Ron Daniels and I organized a contingent to go down to New Orleans. This was like, I guess, 5 months after Katrina had hit. And we were able to mobilize 17 national black organizations to join us. We were there for 3 days to commemorate and to really get a sense of what else could we do to support the families, not only in New Orleans, but again, I know I'm sounding somewhat repetitious, but for all those families that have been displaced across the country. So out of that came an opportunity to meet with Congressional Black Caucus members who were also in New Orleans at the exact same time. We had ecumenical services that were conducted with Minister Louis Farrakhan and local ministers coordinating that. We had a town hall meeting, and through the auspices of the Association of Black Psychologists, we set up healing circles, because you've got to remember that we're only 5 months out of Katrina, and a number of those who were first responders, especially black police and black firefighters, who had witnessed bodies, flowing down the streets and all of that, they had never had an opportunity to have any healing sessions. So under the auspices of the president at that time of the Association of Black Psychologists, and also the convener of the All Healers Mental Health Alliance, Dr. Anel Prem, and I'm blocking for just a moment the president at that time of the Association of Black Psychologists, they conducted healing circles at different churches in New Orleans, and most specifically those who benefited most, and this was a verbal assessment from them, were the black professional firefighters and black police, because they had never had an opportunity to just sort of share with people or have just almost like a grieving moment. So the way the healing circles were set up, it was ideal for them.
Talk a little bit about the substance of a healing circle session. How did that unfold?
I'm struggling again to remember her name, but under the auspices of the Associated Black Psychologists, they had set up...
Hold on one second.